Do your dives look like this? Do you wish they looked like this instead? What if I told you that going from the first play to the second one is much easier than you think? In this video, I'll show you a different way of looking at this game that'll make it seem so simple you might as well have been playing with your eyes closed all this time. I'm not even exaggerating, as immediately after teaching one of my students what I'm about to share in this guide, they went on a 6-game win streak while practicing the discussed concepts. Patreon.com/harmlesspoke. To start, let's identify what went wrong on the first clip. As we can see here, the enemy team is pushing the corner hard to fight our hog, giving me a great opening to engage while everyone is distracted. So far so good. I dash in and blade, and right as I'm ready to start making sushi, I get EMP'd and sliced in half. So much for that distraction, am I right? Let's compare that to this other play. Same type of setup, similar timing, and the same EMP threat available. See what I did there? Instead of being caught off guard by the sudden attention given to me due to my enemy shouts, I expected it and planned around that reaction, dodging the EMP with a double jump. This is called foresight, and it's the skill that allows you to counter your opponent's reaction. This specific dodge was extremely flashy and high level, but usually foresight is very straightforward. For example, in my 1v3 clip, you can see me predict that my targets are going to turn around to look at me right as they start to back off towards cover, so I dash through them to throw off their aim at that moment. Afterwards, I fire my last free shot while they're still turning around and preemptively deflect, expecting a panicked attempt from them to shut down the flanker that dove in for a kill, allowing me to catch the flashbang and barrage for a devastating outplay. You might be noticing a trend here. When attention is given to you, it indicates a reaction is coming, whether it's an attempt to run away from you, fight back, etc. I go in for a blade on the BAP, but the enemy Pharah is the one that looks at me, so as expected, her attention precedes a reaction and I prepare myself for it, deflecting as soon as I can and catching the airstrike. So far, I've only shown situations that demand preemptive measures due to the lethality of the reactions involved, but sometimes you can and should wait to see how things play out before going for your next move. For example, in this play I'm not facing much damage, just a lot of very annoying cooldowns that make it difficult to secure an elimination. Knowing this, I take a slow and methodical approach, making myself hard to whipshot by landing on top of Brig and double jumping, waiting for a reaction. This baits out Suzu and Shield Bash, so now I'm free to chase with dash, deflecting between swings to try and catch a potential boop. With this, we can now break down counters into two categories, early and late. Reactions that need to be prevented, such as high bursts of damage, should be tackled before they happen, while reactions that can't be prevented, such as bursts of mobility, should be answered after they occur. In the Nepal clip, I used early counters to try and avoid or block the whip shot, and late counters to answer the shield bash mobility as well as the Suzu, whose outplay was simply staying alive while waiting out the effect duration. Let's summarize what we have learned so far. Foresight is used to figure out how to counter our opponent's reaction, and attention indicates when the reaction is coming, something that's extremely important for early counters. These concepts make up the execution of a dive, and the two most common failure points here are ignoring an enemy's attention or failing to answer it properly. Alright, let's dive a little deeper. Here, my team is rotating to the right side, and so are most of our opponents, indicating where everyone's attention will be directed at. Knowing this, I sneak around to the left side, making use of this blind spot to close the gap on their sojourn, looking for a quick assassination. Unfortunately, she notices my flank early, so we start trading shots while moving to cover. So far so good. From here, my idea was to climb over the wall to engage in a duel, which should work in theory as everyone else is distracted fighting over the high ground, right? As it turns out, 3 enemies are rotating main out of a sudden, and while they aren't looking at me yet, I should expect that to change soon, as they aren't engaged in combat to be distracted during the rotation. I missed this cue and ignored them, getting shot at because of it and almost dying. Yikes. Obviously, I made the silly mistake of ignoring their attention, but that's not what we're going to focus on. Instead, let's look at why I thought it was possible for me to pull off this play. Timing and positioning. If both teams had in fact engaged in a 4v4 on the right side, that would mean Sojourn and I would have an isolated duel on our hands, justifying my pathing choice and cover usage. Had I expected the team rotation main instead, I would have taken the long way around to avoid being shot from this other angle, and just like in the other situation, I would have waited until most of my opponents were too busy to turn around and deal with me to pick the Sojourn and look for my engagements. We can even see a similar scenario play out after I grab the health pack, as my team rotates main and tanks all of the enemy's attention, leaving me free to put in the work from the shadows. At the end of the fight, I dealt around 800 damage while only taking 2 shots. Quite a contrast to my previous attempts, huh? Let's watch another clip with these concepts in mind. I start with a nice little flank, getting a lot of shots in for free thanks to my hog tanking everyone's attention. Unfortunately, this doesn't lead to much, and, worst of all, our opponents turn around to look at me, so I dash out before things get ugly. This forces me to play safe for a bit, so I poke while no one is watching the high ground and deflect when that changes to avoid being burst down, using that opportunity to rotate to a better position. With a good setup secured and all the attention going towards my team, I push through the flank to look for a pick, failing to deal enough damage to commit to the play. The good news is that I successfully outplayed the reaction, so instead of dying, I got to keep my position to try again once my resources are back and I regain the element of surprise. Bingo! So, have you figured out how to use these concepts to great effect? Positioning is simple enough. If you want to avoid enemy attention, just play outside their vision. It sounds really easy and obvious, but in practice, it's much more nuanced than that. For example, what happens when you don't know where one of your opponents is? Can you accurately tell which positions are not being watched in that case? Not really. Here, my positioning is theoretically great, allowing me to apply a lot of pressure for free and easily answer any attention given to me by simply hiding behind cover. Or, at least, that would have been the case if not for their Cassidy flanking me, completely compromising my approach and forcing a dash to a safe but awkward position. So, as is commonly the case in Overwatch, information is key, and with it we can make better decisions such as choosing when to go in. The important nuance when it comes to timing is separating it into 2 categories, fight and stealth. The moment in the fight you choose to go in dictates how many players can even turn to look at you, so engaging when everyone is busy dealing with your team limits the amount of attention you will have to deal with. Other than that, you can gain a small advantage by being out of sight when starting a play, so timing your action when people aren't looking. In both of my dives on Cassidy, we can see the approach from blind spots during chaotic moments in the fight, limiting his help to Brig only. And on top of that, I made sure to only go in when both of them were unaware of me. Alright, let's zoom out to see the full picture. The concepts we just talked about constitute the setup, while the earlier ones make up the execution. Their goals are avoiding and handling attention respectively, and they can be achieved by getting relevant information, such as tracking enemy positions, cooldowns used, or even ultimates available. This is a lot of knowledge to take in, so don't worry if it seems overwhelming at first. You're not meant to try and learn everything in one go. Instead, choose one concept at a time to practice in your matches and build it up as a habit. Rinse and repeat until you're applying everything here subconsciously. Depending on your specific skill sets, this may or may not take a while to do, as you might already know some of the ideas discussed here. For example, I've been ahead of the curve when it comes to blading for years, using a trick I like to call the post-jump technique to outplay the absurd amounts of attention grabbed by Genji's ult. Add to that the fact that deflect naturally causes Genji players to learn the execution portion of the graph, and you can probably guess where most of my practice has gone towards. So, when it comes to optimizing your practice, self-reflection is your best friend. Watch your own replays and figure out your strengths and weaknesses. If we take a look at some clips from my students, we'll see that they do a great job with the setup, approaching from off angles and engaging during the middle of chaotic fights. However, some of their plays end up failing due to missing information, such as being unaware of a threat, or, most importantly, not picking up on important cues. This flank on Ana was perfect, so much so that she went very low before even knowing what hit her. This basically telegraphs the reaction we're going to deal with, which is a panicked sleep dart attempt when she looks at us. Had we realized this, we could have easily countered it with deflect before finishing her off, but unfortunately we failed to read the room. So, based on this short analysis, my students should practice their information gathering abilities, such as scouting and reading player intentions. This type of content takes a ton of time to make, from researching the topics I want to talk about and getting the right footage to showcase them, to creating and refining the script and edit to make all of the explanation as simple and effective as possible. So if you found this video helpful and would like to support me and my work, share the channel with others that would enjoy it. And if you have the income to spare and are looking to speed up your growth as a player, considering becoming a patron to participate in weekly educational workshops or booking a private coaching session with me through a Discord DM.